In the last couple years, both the Lotus 79 and VIR have gotten a refresh from iRacing. All dressed up and looking their best now, it seems appropriate to show them off together. Let's take a trip south as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. If you haven't seen this updated version of VIR, the good news is we have a handy track guide to show you what it looks like now. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Only a short trip away from the state's border with North Carolina, this track has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. After closing for a quarter century, once it was rebuilt, it quickly began to draw major sports car series to its halls. The new owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 5 versions are available on iRacing with a range between 1 and 4 miles in length between them. With that much pavement, the plethora of corners have earned some colorful nicknames. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, the climbing S's force you to thread the needle before spinning you out into the steep drop at South Bend. Then, of course, there's Oak Tree, which sadly no longer sees its namesake landmark on the inside of the turn, but still retains its frustrating difficulty. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery to get the most out of the lap. While passing can be tricky here, the long backstretch nicknamed Madison Avenue and the lengthy front stretch do tend to offer enough of a draft that you can still give a go at a pass. Still, track position is usually an important factor in most races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. Well, Joey, on the list of American racetracks, American road courses, 25 years ago, who would have thought this place would hold the standard that it does now?
And we were talking about reviving racetracks from the past, and this is one of them. Classic North American racetrack, Virginia International Raceway, 3.27 miles in length. And in my opinion, these Lotus 79 cars are going to fit at home here. Some of the more exciting parts of this racetrack, the snake down there, those are the lower S's. It feeds out into the upper S's, also known as the climbing S's, and they are going to be flat out with the downforce that they make. But trust me, South Bend approaches very quickly, as well as Oak Tree. You're going to have to woe these cars up hard on the brakes. And then also just off of the roller coaster through Hog Pen, it is all downhill through there. You really got to hang on to these cars, jumping down through the curbs and the elevation.
Well, we'll see if they can handle all those changes throughout this complicated lap, but it's not complicated in the championship anymore because Juan Costa has wrapped it up. With 3 rounds left, he cannot be caught. He has been that dominant so far. There's only been 2 times where he has actually finished the race, is the way I should put it, that he hasn't taken full points. And then, of course, at Sebring at the start of the season, he had a 0, unfortunately. But other than that, it's just been a perfect showing for him. Timothy Reed, Jack David Spickett, they cannot catch up from here. They're going to have to face off with each other to decide who gets second. And maybe Freckleton and Finnegan can try and jump in there. What about Jason Clapper with his traditional climb through the field? It's impressive enough that he's 6 in the F1 driver standings right now. But how high can he go in the end? Let's check in on the F2 standings, though, before we get to the racing.
Yeah, and F2 right now, Tim Britton starting to stretch it out a little bit, but tell you what, Keith Herner is still there. He's only 24 points behind, and with a couple of these races left, I think Keith is very much in it. But then there's a bigger gap back to Kurt Clapper in 3rd place, Patrick Samaran in 4th, and Shady Ahmad hanging out in the top 5. Things are a little bit closer from then on back, and it's going to be more about finishing those last few races as best you can, maybe leapfrog into the top 5 in this F2 standings.
As for this race itself, it's only 22 laps around here. It's a bit of a longer lap, but they do get around pretty quickly because of the long straights that they have here. It's an open setup series, so the drivers can try to figure out what is most comfortable at this circuit, but they don't have a spare car if they get any sort of damage. So you want to try and protect it, and there's definitely some places where you could wind up in the tire barrier around here, so got to hold on. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents, but a DQ at 25. It is all grass. There's pretty much no paved runoff or, well, there's, I think, a 1 spot around here, but no sand traps as well. So drivers probably are not going to be pushing that limit too hard to where that is a concern. And we're getting the last of the qualifying down here. They've got about 10 seconds left, so anybody that does want to set a time has very precious little to go, and I think it might even be set at this point. So looks like our grid has been ordered here for this afternoon's race, and Juan Costa does take the pole. No surprise there, but Gernot Frische has been continuing to get better and better at his qualifying, which has been a bit of a sore point for him in the last couple years. He's starting on the front row with Jack David Spickett in 3rd, and Timothy Reed in P4. Juha Arena will be in 5th, followed by Phil Reed in P6. And it's Dylan Freckleton starting P7, and Andreas Schuster in 8th. Nathan Finnegan will be 9th, and then Seamus Power rounds out your top 10.
Here in row 6, John Stevens and Miguel Gutierrez Garcia in 12th. Daniel Banker in 13th. Tim Britton 14th. Samuel Raymond here inside the top 15. Pablo Suarez 16th place here in row 9. We got Barry West along with Adrian Moreno Zurita. Then Miguel Moreland and Keith Herner in 20th.
Victor Chamorro will be starting 21st. Marc-Jean Girard, the last set of time, will start 22nd. Then it's Mike Rasimas in 23rd. Jason Clapper, of course, he didn't set a time. He'll be starting second to last. And then Nicholas Morelli will be the last of them. I think he had a mistake on his qualifying that sent him spinning out. So this could be a rough one for him. And it's 8 in the morning out here. So it's a cool track, Joey.
64 ambient, 67 degrees on the track. However, it is May. It is Virginia. I would expect that to warm up here in the next 30 minutes that we're going to be racing or so.
Indeed. And looking to see if we have anybody else that needs to grid here. Looks like Jean Girard is going to be the next, the last one that needs to plop himself out on the grid. And he's got about 15 seconds. I wonder if he plans to start from pit lane here. He's so far back, I wouldn't think it would matter this much, but as the seconds tick down, I think indeed he's going to be starting from the pit lane, which is a bit unfortunate, but everybody else is ready to go. So this means that the engines now start to rev as the lights come up and the green flag is out off the line. Gernot Frische does not go well. He is very slow off of it, and he's already being swamped as it looks like Jack David Spickett is going to get by. Timothy Reed's going to try and get to the inside. They almost go 4 wide down into the horseshoe. Somebody gets spun in the back, and unfortunately, it looks like there is a pileup at the back of the field.
Yeah, unfortunately, I believe that's Pablo Suarez turned around in turn 1, and I think it was Dylan Freckleton that was in the middle of a 3-wide sandwich around turn 1. And we got some more problems in turn 4 down there. Car skidding across the grass.
Unfortunately, I think it was Sam Ryman who was initially turned around on that first incident, with Seamus Power trundling back onto the track now down in 24th. Jean Girard still kind of finding his way to the pack, but it was a messy start here at VIR, and they're already to Oak Tree, getting into the sunshine and out of the clouds, with Costa leaving Spickett and Reed.
I will say, visually, this new scan of VIR, it looks fantastic out there. Beautiful racetrack, one of my favorite places, and always good to see these cars on here.
So down into roller coaster. Spickett about 7/10 behind Costa, and Jack even commented before the race started that he felt a little weird starting as high as he is, but I'd say he belongs here. I mean, he is keeping touch with Juan Mi here at the start.
He is, and I think it's important that this is that warm-up phase. Just take a deep breath right now. Everybody's getting settled in. You're figuring out your pace, but JDS qualified in the top 3, running second, so I feel like his outright pace right now is right there.
Absolutely. Behind them, a little bit hot into the corner. Off the track goes Juho Reina. He's going to lose a lot of positions. It looks like he keeps it pointed forward, but look at them streaming by. He's down to 10th.
Unfortunate for Juho, and that was just a little brake lockup. I think we're going to see it. You look at how small these front tires are. They are still warming up. I figure at the end of this lap, they should be good to go, but they're still kind of in that intermediate phase right now.
Back to Phil Reed here in 17th. He lost a lot at the start. He is down to 11th position, kind of stuck behind Miguel Moreland right now, and he's thinking about it. This could be bad. They're up into climbing S's. You can't go too wide, but it's dangerous, and Miguel is the one to give way in that game of chicken.
And for reference, no, we got a problem out of turn 10. I believe that was Andreas Schuster and Miguel Moreland as well, with a spin on the other side of the track.
And I think that was because Miguel lost his speed. Yeah, and was just slow up into South Bend, and the two came together into that corner. Back to Gernot Frische here, sitting in 4th, has lost 2 positions since the start, but is trying to see if he can at least get back 3rd from Timothy Reed, but they're actually losing touch with JDS up ahead.
Impressive pace from that number 5 car right now, and doing a good job, doing exactly what he needs to do. And Juanmi Costa, you mentioned it, he's been on fire, and look at that, another purple fastest lap. So I think you're right, JDS is doing a very good job.
I think hopefully finally things calm down a little bit here. Let's take a look at the race start. And just coming down into the first corner, you're going to see Sam Ryman get a little bit of a touch from behind that turns him around. And then Suarez just kind of has no place to go as everybody stacks up to avoid it.
And then not only that, but there was also that incident down there in turn 4 with the car spinning around. So you're right, it was a little bit of a messy start, but we have caught our breath out here on lap 3 as the leaders go up through the climbing S's, my favorite section of the racetrack.
And this definitely feels very Virginia. Look at the haze that they have around the track right now. It must be actually pretty humid now that I see that. No, not too bad, only 61%.
And Joe, there's been many an early morning at VIR where you just have the early fog and it burns off by probably 9 o'clock.
I don't think I've ever noticed this before. If iRacing is actually modeling this, that it'll do that in the mornings because it looks gorgeous as they come out onto the backstretch towards the roller coaster once again. Just a little bit too far behind for Reina to try and get ninth away from Garcia. Just in front of him, and they're also just behind Daniel Banker as well. So a couple positions for the Pickens.
We got to remember that Yuho had that problem in turn 1 on the end of lap 1. So I think that Reina right here got a little bit more pace. He's going to be looking, try to get around Garcia, goes to the inside. Just got to be nice and stable on those brakes, not overshoot it into turn 1. Gets the car hooked up through the apex. Yuho Reina up to 9th.
All right, one down, just a few more to go to get back to at least where he started this race. He's down 4. A lot of others are up 4. Nathan Finnegan has gained that many. John Stevens, Daniel Banker is actually up 5 as well. So other people's woe is some good luck. And Dylan Freckleton here in 6, trying to make it 2 up as he is chasing down Finnegan.
Really close off of the back bumper, and you gotta think, you gotta be careful of the aero washes. Yeah, he picked up a big understeer there in turn 10. Let's Finnegan go a little bit further out there, but he was so close behind Finnegan, I would figure that aero wash was gonna come into effect.
Well, let's see if it gives him a toe down the backstretch, or what about back here between Britton Rosimas and Phil Reed as they're on top of each other. Phil's got a very good run. Is he going to be able to make the move, though, as they pick up speed? And actually, that looks like Mike just kind of gave that one up.
And interesting, too, because you look at Mike, he's up 10 positions right now. One of our biggest movers.
I think you're right. I think he is the biggest mover currently here on lap 4. So maybe he's just trying to consolidate, not try to get into too much trouble as they head out of Hogpen onto the front stretch. And Phil's definitely on the move himself. Remember, he got sent backwards a little bit. He's down 6 from where he started. Tim Britton holds the outside, does not defend, and Phil's going to take an easy second position in 1 lap.
And you see also Tim Britton, Mike Rasmus getting through there. He squeezed it through. As soon as Phil Reed opened the door on Tim Britton, Mike Rasmus took advantage.
I'm getting mixed messages from Mike here. He gave away the position and then just aggressively took one back. And Zarita, a newcomer, just wrecked from behind them, unfortunately. So that's a DNF for what I believe is a rookie driver.
Now, to talk about what you just mentioned as we watched Freckleton on Finnegan again, Phil Reed is one of our fastest competitors. And you're right, he fell way back. So if anything, Mike Rasmus is actually being smart. Let Phil Reed go be the hammer, open up all the doors, and just follow him through.
You open doors with a hammer?
You can.
This explains many things, I think. So as Freckleton continues to give chase on Nathan Finnegan, this is for the 5th spot. We've been talking a lot this season about Freckleton's success. Took his first podium of the series and is trying to continue to try and push his way forward. But just a top 5 potentially here today as he's going to get a nice little tow down the front stretch, down towards the horseshoe once again. Doesn't quite look close enough, though.
Not quite close enough here, I don't think. And that kind of leads into deja vu of the last few laps. It seems like Dylan is able to really close up through the S's section of the racetrack and then really can't go anywhere with it. So I'll be curious to see if it's going to be a mistake out of Finnegan or if Dylan can go up there and put some pressure on him and get the pass done.
Sounds like we've lost Daniel Banker as our latest DNF, unfortunately. Actually, the only DNF. The other cars that have wrecked are taking repairs. So that's Zarita, Suarez, and Moreland they might yet still get back out here. Continuing to watch this battle between Finnegan and Freckleton, and he's close once again, but we've seen this before. You mentioned it, Joey, the aero wash awful through here, but this time, I'd say he managed to stay a little closer.
He's learning. He's learning. He definitely backed off earlier in turn 10. Look at this. As close as he's ever been coming out of the oak tree turn. He's going to be in the slipstream enough here to potentially make a move going into the roller coaster, Joe.
He's right there. Is he going to try and risk it? If you go side by side, you need to be given space by your competitors. And likewise, he's going to send it in very, very deep. Can he actually make the corner? Just barely as he slides it past the apex. Nice stuff from the number 8.
What a move from Dylan Freckleton. I think he's running a little bit more downforce. You see him, he couldn't close in on Finnegan, but once that break zone came up, wow, he came alive.
But can he hold on to it? Because now Nathan is going to come right back at him. He's once again given space, but still deep on the brakes. Dylan looks brave into the corners, maybe a little too brave as he goes a little wide down through the horseshoe, switches back, and they stay wheel to wheel through NASCAR Bend. Not really a too wide corner, and I think Finnegan knew that. He backs out.
Yeah, and here, this is Dylan's opportunity. If he can just get a few clean corners right here, hit your marks, you'll actually see him scoot away from Nathan Finnegan, and that's exactly what he needs to do by the time they get to the next straightaway.
Bad news for fans of Juho Reina. For the second time this race, he outbraked himself into the horseshoe and went off course. He's back down to 13th now. Just kind of been his own worst enemy today as we watch Freesia fight. Oh, and off ahead of them, that's JDS. JDS goes off an oak tree and hits the outside wall. Is the car okay is the big question mark here.
Oh, no, that was our second place runner, and look at him going down the back straightaway here. I think the car might be okay, although it does look to be crabbing maybe a little bit.
And Freesia, he manages to overtake Reed as well. Just like that, in about one straightaway, he goes from 4th to 2nd. Well, very good moves from Gernot Freesia here. And, oh, JDS has towed the car. It must be ruined.
Yeah, I hopped on board. He was towed out, had damage going down the straightaway. Really unfortunate for Jack David Spickett. I think one of the podium potentials for today for sure.
Yeah, he like you and I are in agreement. He is very fast despite what he may think. And just a bit of a shame that he couldn't keep it on the track today. So Freesia had to play a little defense on Reed, and he'll be able to hold on to that second place. But we're going to take a closer look since we didn't really get to see very well on the cameras, and maybe just a little too hot into the corner. Yeah, that was too hard of a hit to really carry on.
And Joe, it's VIR. This is an amazing racetrack. Not only is it fast and aggressive, but it's technical. An oak tree, you carry so much speed. You flirt with that limit of decel versus side load as you come in. It is so tricky to get right every time.
They're going to try and get it right here. These two battling for second, and it looks like Freesia is able to hold him at bay. Not a good exit from Timothy, so no pass on here unless you get a slip up from that number 1. Speaking of the number 1, we do have a leader in this race. We haven't really shown him since the start. Juanmi Costa is about 4 seconds ahead, and it's kind of been nothing worth writing home about. It's his typical MO.
It's beautiful, right? He's out there. He's not making mistakes. He's setting fastest lap times. He's currently the fastest car on the racetrack. He's doing what he has showed up and done pretty much every race so far. Just Juanmi Costa out front. Although, Joe, if I was to criticize one thing about what's going on with Juanmi, I've seen him put up to a second per lap on the field, and I'm only seeing about a half a second per lap today.
Not up to his standards. I will say, Freesia is notorious for having the car be quicker at the end and a lot better for him at the end of races. We're only on lap 9. He's now got clear air. 4.5 seconds, it would be impressive, but that's not impossible.
It's a great point, and you know, just as I said, Wanmi was the fastest car on the track. That last lap, Gernot Freesia was the fastest car on the track, about a 10th faster than Wanmi Costa. So, still a big mountain to climb, but yeah, the pace is there.
The plot thickens. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that between those two. See if we will have a race on our hands for the win today. If so, I'll double check here. We thankfully, our stats man, Michael the Turk, has given us all kinds of cool information. I need to double check to see how many days it's been since the last win for Gernot Frische here, because it's been, I think, a few years now.
Well, and he's always stuck in that mid front pack battle, kind of that third, fourth, fifth place battle. And you're right, he never gets the opportunity to have the clean air when he's got the fastest race car, which is at the end of the race. And sure is setting up to look like that today.
All right, so it has been 825 days. That's getting close to 3 years worth that we have last seen Gernot Frische on the top spot. So we'll keep an eye on him and whether or not he can do it today. As we're watching Jason Clapper, his traditional climb has brought him up 13, but Mike Rasimas is up 15 right now. So he's got a couple better from those up the road from him. Right now, that is Juho Reina up in front of Jason Clapper. And as we've seen, Juho is a little prone to mistakes today.
Especially here into turn one, which we're going into right now. It seems like Juho keeps it nice and tight. And turn one really feeds into turn two. It really is one long horseshoe kind of complex there.
Absolutely. I always thought that was one of the trickiest corners in racing, honestly. It doesn't seem like it should be, but hard to get through that hairpin just right. Here is our biggest mover that I mentioned a little bit earlier. He's trying to make it 16. That's John Stevens just in front of him. And the black and white as they head towards South Bend. Mike gonna have to deal with that dirty air through that blind corner, and he does so admirably as now he tries to set up the exit for Oak Tree so that he can get the run down Madison Avenue, but doesn't seem like he has the grip.
Not going to be quite there this time, and you saw him really kind of opening up the radius there of Oak Tree, trying to get the drive off of it to maximize this toe. And I tell you what, he's here. He's going to show a nose maybe at least a little bit. But I feel like unless you're Dylan Freckleton with one of those high downforce setups, you got to cross your fingers on the brakes from that far back.
Absolutely. You need to be a little closer, just with not much braking, or at least very late braking into that corner. Back to Timothy Reed. Gernot Frische has not been able to shake him, and unfortunately, he also hasn't been faster than Costa these last couple laps. It's extended to about 5 seconds from P1 to P2. And as soon as we jumped away from it, Mike Rasimas did finally get Stevens into turn one.
Put him up 17 now. So Jason Clapper, definitely some competition out there with the biggest mover award today.
Got to think this is going to be a nice little fight between these two. The winningest driver ever in the Sunday Grand Prix series, and Timothy Reed, kind of, I wouldn't say an up-and-comer, but is kind of bubbling to the top in recent years, been showing himself a serious threat for podiums and at times for wins as well. Just unfortunate that he's managed to find his speed just as Juan Mi Costa came to the fore this season. But he's pretty close here. Is this going to be enough? I'm not thinking so. But he's definitely staying a threat here to the Austrian.
So when Gernot first got by Timothy Reed, he kind of stretched it out a little bit, and then Reed seemed to find a little bit of pace, and now it seems like he's picked it up even more. I wonder if he's been learning things from that Gernot Frische car right in front of him. And look at this, jumping back here, Juho Reina trying to get back up, going by Miguel Garcia right now on roller coaster, turn 14.
Garcia a little deep into the turn, but he manages it well. And the one Marlboro livery card is going to meet the other, as that's Jason Clapper rocking up behind. Can he manage to do anything here on the front stretch? Because that was a decent exit coming out of Hogpen.
I think he is. He's going to have him square in his sights right now. Does he go to the right side, which is the preferred line, nice and deep on the brakes from Jason Clapper, gets it tucked into the apex, up into the top 10.
All right, and I think this might be one of the first races we've seen Miguel Garcia. Phil Reed, in the meantime, is now up into 7th place over John Stevens as well, and he sets off after Mike Rasimas. So Phil Reed trying to recover, Rasimas trying to charge forward, and will the two meet?
And something about Phil Reed, he had a lap 10, that was about 4 seconds off pace. So not only did he have the mistake early on, but lap 10, something definitely bothered him. And If I remember correctly, wasn't it Rasmus that was following Reed at one point?
I think you might be right on that. There's been a lot that's happened
It
in
was the
this
hammer
race.
situation.
Yeah. Timothy Reed still here close to Gernot Frische and trying to see if he can catch back up and make that pass. He's been so close. Just seems like, I wonder if Gernot's trimmed it out a little bit. Maybe Tim has not been able to get enough of a run on the straights.
The other thing that could be going on, you never know what's inside of these drivers' heads, but sometimes it's easier to have the carrot out in front of you. You might not realize the pressure that a car is putting on behind you, but some drivers just drive better without that pressure in the mirror.
Yeah. Some prefer to be the rabbit, and others prefer to be the wolf. Here's Phil Reed and what happened to him. Too much curb, it looked like, and that caused too much curb on the exit as well. Very lucky to keep it from completely spinning as he went off of Hogpen, but that is a perfect illustration of what I said before, Joey, that you go wide here and there's nothing really to slow you down.
And you were right. He was very lucky not to make it all the way to the trees out there, because that grass, it's all downhill sloped away from the racetrack. You were hauling the mail coming down through Hogpen down there, so lucky save for Phil Reed.
Andreas Schuster's been having a bad day. He was in a nice little fight there, coming through the horseshoe and into NASCAR Bend with Seamus Power, and unfortunately, I think I'm not sure if he had contact, but he went off at NASCAR Bend and found himself off into the runoff. So we come back to Timothy Reed in the meantime, and once again, just an arm's length away from that number one, and it's starting to come down to it. We've only got 9 laps to go.
I really feel like Timothy Reed is following Gernot at this point, because I'm watching the mile an hour. He's got 2 or 3 mile an hour in the draft, so I don't think it's the case that Frische's car is trimmed out more than Tim Reed. I think he's just hanging out.
Is he thinking maybe it's too easy to pass and repass here? Just kind of waiting to snipe him? Well, that's not going to help him.
No, that was a huge moment. Now, might not look like much, but look at how much that allowed Gernot to escape. That was a 1-second moment of loss.
Wow. Okay, so this is the moment of truth then. If Timothy is really faster, he should be able to gain this back. This gives us a chance to look farther down through the order at Nick Morelli, trying to race Tim Britton for 12th position. Behind them, you'll see flashes of Barry West. There, well, not anymore. Morelli with a spin coming out of NASCAR Bend is going to give up the spot to Barry.
I wonder, it looked like he was just a little loose to begin with. You see him still gliding around. I know that when you get these tires overheated in the sim, sometimes it takes a few corners to get them cooled back down.
Oh, and Phil Reed overtakes Mike Rasimus down the back stretch. Oh, that was... Rasimus also had a big moment here. It's not a very hot track, but I'm seeing a lot of slipping and sliding. Mike kept it from completely spinning around, but he was almost fully sideways there.
VIR, I told you, it's one of my favorite places, and it is so fast, Joe. I think that people underestimate this racetrack. It doesn't necessarily have to be slippery with the speeds that you're carrying here at VIR.
That's true. And with it being a little cool, maybe the tires just struggling to keep the temperature up a little. That'd be unusual, but you never know. We're going to take a look at Mike's replay here and show you how he lost this position. This is actually a nice catch.
This is Oak Tree once again. Oh my goodness. He bounced it way over those curbs, didn't he?
Was fully crossed up there and thankfully kept it from spinning completely off the inside of the track, but you could see the momentum that killed for him, unfortunately, and lost him the spot. I also want to give a little bit of shout out. I know this is favoritism, but Sam Ryman, remember, he was hit from behind at the very first corner and sent to the back. He is up to, well, I was going to say 15th. Now it's 14th because unfortunately for Nick Morelli, he just spun off the course once again, and there you see Nick on screen now.
Morelli just not having the day that he wants to out there, but Juan Costa certainly having a nice, pleasant afternoon. I wonder if he's got like any sort of maybe espresso machine or food set up in there that he can stay nice and comfortable while he's racing.
I couldn't tell you, but right now I'd say it looks like he is very at ease in that car. The way he's been rifling off these laps. We're getting some interesting information from Michael DeTurk about the setup of the car. Now, you are usually more knowledgeable about car dynamics than I am. Do you want to address some of what he's talking about here that makes these cars so loose?
Yeah, I'm just reading it myself here, and basically the whole idea around this racetrack is you need a bunch of front end on this car because it's high speed. If you don't have that front end aero grip, guess what? You're just going to go flying off of the racetrack. However, if you have a lot of front end grip, it can make the car quite twitchy. And a lot of drivers don't like that yaw angle. It's kind of more on the edge of things rather than comfortable.
Yeah, makes sense to me. And for Gernot Frische, let's see. Oh, the gap's up to 1.4. I kind of think Timothy Reed maybe was riding those coattails a little bit. He was using that slipstream to stay with him. And unfortunately, now that he's lost it, it's small increments, but it's enough that he's falling backwards slightly here.
All right, Joe, you win. Yep, you are right. No, it is true. The draft is a very powerful tool here in iRacing, and you have to be able to use it. And Timothy Reed was using it to his effect, but right now just a little bit out of touch from that.
Yeah, so let's see if maybe he can get a mistake out of Gernot, and that would bring him right back into the fray. But for now, it's only 6 laps to go. He's going to need something to happen soon to have a good shot at this. Just an update, since I mentioned we had lost Daniel Banker a little bit earlier. Looks like Miguel Moreland, Pablo Suarez, and Jack David Spigot all officially out of this race now. Adrian Zarita is still repairing the car. It's been 18 minutes, though. I think even though he has not officially retired the car, we could say that he's done.
Phil Reed out here. So I've driven a lot of different versions of VIR. I love the most updated with the extra runoff here, but it still scares me when I see those cars really slide out wide of turn 3 there. I'm not used to having all that runoff all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that it's here now, but I'm with you. I raced the old version on iRacing so many years that you kind of try to take that narrow line instinctively these days. But Phil Reed is willing to try and push the limits. Next up on his list is Nathan Finnegan, but he's got to make up 5.5 seconds, and Phil has only reached back to where he began this race, unfortunately.
Mike Rasmus still chugging along, though, up 16. Jason Clapper up 15. I wonder if Jason Clapper is going to be able to catch Juho and challenge Rasmus for the biggest mover today. And something else we were noting, Joe, Gernot Frische's pace. Remember when he got into clean air? What was he about? About 4 seconds or so? And he's only about 6 seconds back from our leader right now. So honestly, and look at that. Gernot Frische, purple, fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, like I said, that car tends to come alive the way he sets it up when we get to the latter laps of the race. But it's going to be too little too late if he is quicker than him here. I highly doubt he's going to make up 6 seconds in 5 laps, unfortunately. Taking a look at Seamus Power in the meantime, trying to catch up to Sam Ryman. He's got about 1.5 seconds to get up to him. Seamus, another one that has fallen victim to this track and is 5 positions down. Oh, Juho Reina is going to get caught by Clapper. He had another off. Is it at the horseshoe again? It was.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. I'm going back and taking a look at exactly what's going on. And unfortunately, he is just having a love-hate relationship with turn 1. This time, it didn't look like he over-braked himself. It was actually just in the middle of the corner, Joe. The rear came around on him.
I don't think Juho is going to try and find himself a lucky horseshoe, because apparently it is not for him, as he carries on a 9th. I'm actually kind of impressed that he's as high up the order as he's had, because that's 2 offs and now 1 spin for him. We're going to take a look at this one.
And his previous 2, he just went in too deep. And watch this one. It's right in the middle of the corner. The rear end just steps out on him and around it goes.
Full 360. Gets it on the throttle once again and takes off as Jason Clapper laughs his way into 8th place, now tied up 16 with Rasimus. To catch Mike, he needs 7 seconds, so I'm not sure that's going to happen, but man, we're seeing weirder things because a lot of drivers making simple mistakes here late in the race.
Now, Joe, how would you rate this? So Mike Rasmus up 16, started in 23rd. Jason Clapper up 16, started in 24th. Who's the bigger mover?
Well, for me, it's always who has climbed up higher in terms of overall position. And Phil Reed just had an off. Now, that means that Mike is up 17, so he is now ahead of Jason Clapper. Once again, Phil back on the circuit. That's unfortunate for the number 3, who has looked quick himself today, but just can't keep it on the track. So, yeah, the driver that is up to a higher position, to me, it's the higher up you go, the harder it is to take those spots. So yes, it may only be 1 or 2 up from Jason Clapper, but I tip the hat towards the number 7 today.
Here's that mistake from Phil Reed. I'm not sure if he clipped the apex curb. It didn't look like it. Maybe just got loose on the throttle when he tried to roll back onto that gas, and around came the back end.
That is a curved braking zone into there, so yeah, it could have just been starting to be a little too quick into the corner, and by the time he realized it, there's no gathering that one up. So back to Power, who we were watching before. Oh, he is much faster than Ryman. That was 1.5 seconds before. It's down to half a second now.
3 laps to go. Seamus Power definitely on the move. You see Ryman right in front of him. This is going into that tricky oak tree complex. How much does he push it? You see Seamus really sticking in the middle of the track there.
Still about 7/10 behind. Lost a little bit through that sequence of corners as they climb up the hill now over Madison Avenue before you finally get to the end of it, where it's another blind crest right here. Look at how little you can see as you try to spot your line down into this right-hander.
And trust me, it is very downhill. They have big wheel competitions that start at the roller coaster and go all the way down to Hog Pen.
I love seeing those. I would love to take part in that, but as they fly down the front stretch, he's made up the lost time that he had through the oak tree. It's down to 0.3 of a second. Sam might be lacking a little bit of top end because look at how quickly he is running him down. Power around the outside. Despite the defense, Sam Ryman cannot hold him back.
Oh, just awesome on the brakes from Seamus Power. I think Ryman knew what was coming as well, but Seamus getting the job done with those impressive lap times late in the race.
So that's going to move him up to 14th. And we are down to 2 laps to go now as Juan Mi Costa crosses the line. He's been getting a little bit of lap traffic. That could be something of an issue because I've seen some drivers at the back of the field really struggling with the handling of the car here. But Gernot Frische has not been gaining time. It's down to 7 seconds between them as we look at the car through the trees heading up into NASCAR Bend.
It's just a really slight... Oh, man. Talk about a wiggle coming out of turn 3 for Gernot Frische. I don't think that he is letting up off of the gas at all. He's sticking his foot down till the checkered flag.
Talk about a car that's on the nose is... Nope, no, Phil Reed's lost another one now. And this was another off at Hog Pen with Jason Clapper now also up 17. So he's now gifted both of our hard chargers a position each.
I thought he was going to make it easy on us deciding who the hard charger was, and this goes out there, just gives one to Jason Clapper out there. And we're going to get a shot at this replay. This is going to be Phil Reed coming down into Hog Pen, and he actually loses it on entry down there, has to catch it by the time he hits the compression, and look at how far off into the grass you go.
We've seen the Controller King have some amazing races, but sadly this has not been one of them. Not sure if this track just doesn't work well with an Xbox controller as much, but he's been struggling today.
He has, and you're right. You know, Phil Reed is usually one of our cleanest and fastest competitors, and not having the best of days. But you look through the field, there's a lot of cars that are not having the best of days. Juho Raina is another one, but Juan Mi Costa setting sail into the sunset, 1 lap left.
Indeed, white flag has been given to the number 2 here. He's already claimed his first ever championship in the Sunday Grand Prix Series. And from here, he is just ready to put the stomping on everybody. He's not letting up. I imagine by now he's probably been told that he had clinched it before coming into today. So This is him basically just showing everybody how it's done and continuing to see how high of a points tally he can rack up.
Well, it's getting pretty high up there, and I mean, all he's got to do is navigate a couple more corners. We've seen VIR bite several competitors, but Juan B. Costa has just been on cruise control out there.
You know who we need to see, talking about drivers who've dominated, we need to see a T versus Costa season on who can manage to come out front the most, because those two have both just slapped the field around over the course of a season to take championships. Of course, Juanmi finally can say he's done that with a crown to his name now. But as he comes out of Hogpen, all's good in the world of the number 2 car as he takes yet another win and potentially another perfect score here at VIR.
Looks like Gernot Frischa is going to come through Hogpen, claim that second place position with Timothy Reed rounding out the podium.
Freckleton, another good run from him, just shy of the podium here, but he's going to come home 4th. Didn't really get to talk about it all that much other than showing his early racing. So nice job him to be up 3. Phil Reed here, back on the back of Jason Clapper. Is this close enough? Can he try and snipe this position right back and bump him down to 16 up, changing our battle for the hardest charger? He's right there. This is going to be tight on if he's got enough of a slipstream. He's gaining, but he runs out of track, and it looks like Phil has to settle for 8th in the end.
Up and down day for Phil Reed, and here jumping back, Sam Ryman still chasing Seamus Power at this point, but it's going to come home with the top 15 after those problems that we saw earlier.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the tone was set by him getting hit from behind there in that first corner, so Sam seemed to be either struggling with the setup or maybe some damage there just without that straight line speed, but he does bring it home, at least where he started in 15th. But we are going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to VIR. It was Juan Costas once again taking another perfect score after he's already claimed the championship. Gernot Frischa, a lot quicker than we've seen him lately, qualifying up in second. He eventually wound up in second, but he had to fight for it because Timothy Reed was keeping him honest, was ahead for a little bit until Gernot managed to pass him and then kept him at bay. Dylan Freckleton with a nice fourth was ahead of Nathan Finnegan, P5. And then how about Mike Rasmus and Jason Clapper? Both failed to set a qualifying time and both came up 17 positions for 6th and 7th. Phil Reed, an unusual day for him, falling to 8th, unfortunately, with a number of off tracks. Juho Reina, the same thing, winding up 9th, and John Stevens gets a quiet 10th.
Miguel Gutierrez Garcia finishes 11th. Tim Britton in 12th. Barry West, 13th. Seamus Power with a nice late race charge, 14th. Sam Ryman we saw with those problems early in the race with a damaged car, 15th. Keith Herner, 16th. Andreas Schuster, 17th. Nicholas Morelli, our first car, one lap down. Victor Chamorro and Marc Jean Girard in the top 20.
Then we get to our DNFs. Unfortunately, all these drivers did not see the end of the race, sadly. This track definitely gobbled up a few, but it didn't manage to catch out Juanmi Costa, who got himself another win this season, numerous ones racking up for him, and also just gets to celebrate his championship, as we're going to chat with that number 2 driver of Juanmi Costa here in just a second, about how he feels not just about another win, but a championship on top of it. Congratulations, Juanmi. After last round at Detroit, you had clinched it. Was this one basically a victory lap for you?
Thank you. Was a tough one. It's not the easiest track on the world, this one, with all the grass outside of the track. Happy to know that being it in the oak tree.
So we saw a lot of drivers that were struggling. Like you said, they were slipping off course, and it looked like many people had a very nervous car out there. Were you experiencing that at all? What was your setup feeling like?
It was more on the high downforce side, but not so much because it's VIR. I have a lot of straights, so I have to push on the corners and take some risk. But I had to manage that risk with the guys behind. Thankfully, I had a gap with Gernot by the middle way of the race. I was pretty safe to not push until the end to try to get the first lap.
You got 2 more races, and like I said, things are already wrapped up. So with Silverstone and Spa, are you going to continue to put the smackdown on everybody and take 2 more perfect scores?
Spano, I will skip that one and give it for another one. And Silverstone the next week, I don't know what I will do. So I don't know if I will race here until the next season.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for you regardless. Again, congratulations both on a win and a championship.
Thank you, Joe.
That was Juanmi Costa, your victor here today. And up next, I believe Joey has caught up with Gernot Friesche.
Well, Gernot, congratulations on the second place today. We had to take a look when the last time you won one of these things. We were hoping that you were going to get up there and fight Juanmi today.
It would have been nice, but yeah, that's not really realistic. I think Juanmi was the fastest guy once again, so yeah, congrats again on winning the championship. It's fully deserved, and he's really been working for it a lot. So, yeah, huge congrats to him.
Well, Gernot, I loved seeing your car in clean air up front running a really good pace. You were able to get by Timothy Reed kind of in the earlier stages of that race. Did you feel that maybe if Juanmi made a mistake, you had something for him, or were you pretty much content there at second?
I was pushing a lot at that moment, and I think Juanmi was fully in control, to be honest. I had a really bad start, so I had to fight to get back to second place. And yeah, mid-race I had really good pace. I think towards the end, for one lap, I had the fastest lap as well. But then with, I think it was 3 laps to go, I managed to damage my front wing, at least the spotters told so. So then my pace was a little bit off, and I just tried to bring it home second.
I was going to ask that because I noticed that you'd built up a little bit of gap over Timothy Reed, but then he started to close it in at the end. Where did you pick up that front wing damage? Was it a curb somewhere?
Don't really know what it is. I had it in the race before as well, but in the first race today I had it after the first quarter of the race or something. It happened to me before Hawkpan, so after the long straight on the chicane. Must be some kind of curb there.
Well, I definitely noticed a lot of cars having trouble with the curbs today. But Gernot, I was so pumped to see you running up in second place. Love seeing you up at the front of these fields. And anybody you want to say hi to or thank?
I actually want to say thank you to Peter Konieczny for doing the collection for the broadcasts, because we really need that, and it adds a lot to the fun of this series. So thanks to him. See you guys.
That was Gernot Friesche coming home in second place today at VIR.
Also, looks like we've got Dylan Freckleton here to talk to us, who took a fourth place just outside the podium. One thing that we didn't cover, because I had a chance to go back and look at the replay myself. Dylan, you had a bit of a close moment there coming into the left hook, it looks like. Have you had a chance to see the wreck that was inches away from you?
I haven't. I didn't know that there was one. Yeah, I'll have to have a look at that one back.
Well, you escaped that, and then you managed to climb to fourth place in the end. Unfortunately, Gernot and Timothy kind of run it away from you. But how did the car feel out there? Because we were talking to both Gernot and Wanmi about the setup. Was yours a little bit nervous, or did it feel pretty stable?
Mine felt really good. That's probably the best setup I've had all season. Yeah, the balance was really nice. I took a little bit of downforce out for the race I did earlier today, and that just made the car feel pretty much perfect. So that was about as good as I could have done. Certainly, there's no way I'd have had the pace to catch Gernot and Tim.
Well, the bad news for Spigot is that with you getting that fourth place and him having an issue means he's going to need to rely on his drops a little bit there, and you two getting close. Do you dare dream of finishing third in the points this season?
It'd be nice. Yeah, I think coming into the season, I kind of set a goal to try and get a top 5 at the end of the season. Wasn't sure whether that would be achievable in terms of drop weeks. I'm missing a few weeks, but that was kind of my sort. That was the highest I thought I could do. So to be in a battle for third, that's really nice, and it's been a good season for me. Couple of slightly dodgy weeks, last couple of weeks, but other than that, it's been a really good season.
Well, like I said before, we've been impressed with how your pace has been picking up, and congratulations on a top 5 today.
Thank you very much.
That was Dylan Freckleton finishing P4. And that's going to wrap us up. So a big thank you goes out to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And thanks to the team today, Joey, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race is going to be at Silverstone. It'll be Sunday, May 28th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts we have listed here. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.